Okay, so those were the major decisions taken by the GST Council today. Not much that we were expecting in terms of the rate rationalization. So those decisions have not been taken. But what has come across as the overall, overarching theme is the fact that the government is committed regarding ease of business, and a lot of policy decisions have been making to reduce the compliance burden on the small traders, whether it is about reducing the pre-deposits or bringing in the pan-India Aadhaar-based biometric registrations, as well as bringing down the limits or actually increasing the limits for litigation, etc. A lot has been done with respect to reducing the compliance burden. As far as the rate changes are concerned, the online gaming discussion wasn't taken up today. The finance minister clearly saying that it wasn't on the agenda. The insurance matter too, in terms of the rate changes, was not taken up today. Maybe in the next council meeting, wherein a status update is expected from the group of ministers, is when perhaps some of the discussions will be taken. But the finance minister was very categorical that maybe one should not expect too many decisions with respect to rate rationalization as well in the coming meeting, because it will be the first time that the GOM will be providing with the status check. So maybe the decisions might not be made there. Separately, a few decisions which have been made with respect to the changes in rate pertain to the issues with respect to the intra-rail services, plus some of the milk cartons and milk cans, as well as on solar cookers, etc. So some of those decisions have been made, but the big decisions that we were expecting for fertilizers, for insurance, for online gaming were not taken up by the council today. So the can is clearly kicked down the lane for the next meeting, which is probably going to be held in mid-August for now. That's the word coming in from the finance minister. But to discuss the issues which were actually taken up by the council meeting, we do have Pratik, Jain, partner from PwC India, as well as Mahesh Jaising, the partner and leader of indirect tax, joining in from Deloitte. Hi gentlemen, good evening. Well, we were all waiting to get a lot more in terms of the decisions, but not as much. But Pratik, let me begin the discussion by asking you, the ease of doing business, bringing down the compliance burden, a push for traders and MSME, that seems to be the overarching theme there. Do you think much has been done by the council today?
Yes, I think, of course, all the items were not taken in the agenda, but whatever was taken are really far-reaching in my view. Few things which I want to highlight. One is a waiver of interest and penalties for the past GST demands. Some sort of a GST amnesty scheme, of course, only for those demands which were, misrepresentation, fraud, etc., is not there. But still, it should reduce the litigation by some extent. The second is on anti-profiteering, a sunset clause of April 25. That's a great step to my mind, because GST, it's almost 7 years since GST has come in. And in all the countries where these kind of provisions were introduced, it was there only for a short time. So that's great as well. The quantum of pre-deposit for filing an appeal up to tribunal level, etc., which was 30% earlier overall, now it is 20%, and the quantum per se has been reduced from 50 crores to 40 crores. Again, a great step. And of course, and the last one is the stress on rate rationalization. Of course, rate rationalization, the committee was set up earlier. Perhaps not enough progress has happened in that, but it seemed that with kind of a reconstituted, GOM, one will see a lot more speed over the next few months in terms of, rate rationalization as well. So I will say overall, from ease of doing business, from certainty, simplicity, and so on, it has been a great meeting.
So at least from the ease of doing business perspective, it's been a great meeting. But Mahesh, what's your sense to the point that even Pratik was making with respect to the new GOM, or actually the new leadership under which the GOM will be, kind of working now? Do you think it's realistic to even expect that the rate rationalization decisions, whether it's on online gaming, whether it's insurance, whether it's fertilizer, will be taken up in the next meeting itself? Or maybe it'll take at least, next 3 to 6 months for the GOM to come up with those recommendations and for the councils to really discuss those?
So yes and no. I think like Pratik said, a lot of the outcomes today are indeed path-breaking ones. I won't repeat what Pratik's got into, but in terms of the rate of tax, let's not forget for the last 8.5 months, the Fitment Committee has been sitting on different occasions, as the Honorable Finance Minister stated, and there are a lot of decisions that have been made. And therefore, my sense is that when the new GOM for the rate is formed, they'll perhaps address the ones that are just pending and get that out of the way by the month of August, as was mentioned as the next council meeting soon after the budget, and things which are more path-breaking reforms on the number of slabs, the need to, consolidate the slabs. That will indeed take a little longer time because there's far more that needs to be done on the economic front on what would the break-even and the revenue neutral rate be and which products move where.
Okay, so maybe not path-breaking changes in mid-August, but at least something is what we are watching out for. But Pratik, just getting back to the discussion with respect to the changes that have been announced, in terms of the changes that have come in with respect to, let's say, railways, hostels, and the fact that the finance minister was very categorical about saying that the aim of the central government is to bring petrol and diesel under the GST ambit. The onus is now for the state governments to decide the rate, what could be applicable. What does that tell you? What's your own expectation as to when petrol and diesel and even natural gas for that matter could be brought under the ambit of GST now?
Look, my view is that petrol and diesel and all the passenger fuels will take a lot of time. It is very complicated. A lot of revenue is involved. And petroleum products and liquor perhaps are the two segments where the states still collect tax. I think it will require a larger consensus building, and it will take a few years to my mind. What perhaps could happen is ATF and natural gas. That could come in first, particularly natural gas. I think the revenue involved there is not much. And from a sustainability perspective, when you talk about green fuel and so on, I think natural gas deserves perhaps a more favorable treatment. So I think ATF and natural gas could come in hopefully soon. But petroleum products, other petroleum products like petrol and diesel and other passenger fuels, I think it will take some time.
Okay, so a matter of few years when all the fuel can actually come under the GST ambit, but maybe to begin with, ATF and natural gas could be the ones that they can start off with. But Mahesh, coming back to the point that you were making with respect to the kind of ease of business decisions that have been taken today, one big decision was to kind of let go of the retrospective tax and the interest and demand, etc. there. And if I have it right, there was a lot of deliberation around 11A, at least what the industry was expecting. Are you happy with the kind of decision and update that we've got on that?
So, on the amnesty scheme, obviously very happy. This is for 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20 for the teething troubles and the years when there are notices. Companies could consider just paying the taxes and having an interest and penalty waiver and being able to claim credit. On 11A, I wasn't very clear if, because this was not even mentioned by the Honorable FM. There was a journalist who asked this question and it was in context of online gaming. But it seems like directionally a lot of enabling provision was expected to be brought in, which allows past disputes to be waived. If you've paid the tax, you don't need to, they won't be refunded. But if you've not paid and if it is relating to an industry practice, then that could have been waived. I need to see the fine print to that, but it resonates well to a survey that we did where ease of doing business was a top agenda. I would put that on high on the score today of almost 8 or 9 out of 10 on the ease of doing front, whether on the exemptions for the different sectors and more importantly on audits and assessments, because that's the flavor of the season right now, given that we are close to August 2024, where you will see a cutoff of notices to be issued for the first financial year of GST of 17-18.
At a high 8 or 9 in terms of the decisions that have been taken with respect to ease of doing business. But just Mahesh, the point that you were making earlier that perhaps in August we might not see path-breaking changes, but some of those pending decisions might actually get cleared. Which are those pending decisions, or which sectors you think would be the first to get their decks cleared with respect to rate rationalization, let's say come August?
Actually, come August, my what I would look for is not necessarily rate rationalization, but clarifications that we've been waiting for as industry. The Honorable Revenue Secretary explained about the corporate guarantee. So I'm delighted that there is a clarification which says that if you're into a taxable business, all your demands for a deemed supply on corporate guarantee would be done away with. I'm therefore hoping there are more circulars. The sectors that are waiting for circulars are the insurance sector, the entire multinational sector where you have an deemed provision of import of services without a consideration. That's been creating huge disputes and interpretation issues. We are expecting a circular similar to a one where a principle was applied for local supplies. And we are certainly expecting circulars around ESOPs and others. So there are, I would say, more on the tech sector and all multinationals at large is one. And other sectors that I would look out for clarifications is on the insurance front. And therefore, linked to that, on the Fitment Committee as well, the rate rationalization that has been underway would be those that are exemptions or things that need a rate notification change, not necessarily something that is brought into GST or excluded. So these are the two things that I expect in the month of August.
And see whether that happens in August or not, and I'll be speaking with you then whether how you rate that decision making as well. But just to wrap up the conversation, Pratik, any last words with respect to the key highlights of the GST Council meeting today, or what else to expect?
No, as I said, look, this was the first meeting after the formation of the new government. As FM said, a lot of new state finance minister also joined. In the first meeting, they have achieved perhaps more than many of us were expecting. It was a very detailed agenda. But again, as I said, GST amnesty scheme for the past period, anti-profiteering sunset, the ability to revise the return, clarifications around corporate guarantee, which Mahesh talked about, all of that collectively means that GST Council is listening. And I think that's extremely important. And stress on rate rationalization will go a long way over the next 1 or 2 years as we look at the more refreshed and re-energized GST for next 5 years.
Re-energized, that's what the expectation is for the next 5 years. Pratik, Mahesh, thanks so much for making time and speaking with us. So that's the update coming in from the GST Council meeting today. Not many decisions with respect to the rate rationalization, but the direction has been set, and as our experts put it on the table, perhaps a lot has been achieved today with respect to the ease of doing business and making sure the complexities are brought down, and overall the announcements regarding amnesty scheme, etc., will also go a long way in bringing down the complexity. So that's the latest. Perhaps the decisions that we were anticipating for sectors like fertilizer, insurance, online gaming gets kicked to the mid-August GST Council meeting. But with that, we'll...
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.